Herpes type 1. What is a herpes type 1, HSV, mouth infection? Some people call it a cold sore, others a fever blister. But this annoying and often painful chronic condition is caused by a virus, herpes simplex. About 1 in 2 or 4 in 5 U.S. adults have oral herpes. According to the National Institutes of Health, NIH, by age 50, about 9 in 10 adults have been exposed to the virus. The herpes sores, lesions, typically last a week to 10 days. They most often occur around the lips, tongue, or the mucous membrane lining the inside of the mouth, oral mucosa. The sores occur first as fluid-filled blisters that burst, rupture, after a day or two. The sores will ooze fluid that has the virus. After a few days, the sores will form crusts or scabs. The virus is highly contagious and can be spread by skin-to-skin contacts such as kissing. What causes an HSV mouth infection? The virus is spread by skin-to-skin contact with someone who carries the virus. Most people with oral herpes were infected during childhood or as young adults from non-sexual contact with infected saliva. It can be passed by kissing, touching the infected person's skin, or sharing infected objects such as lip balm, silverware, or razors. Once infected, a person will have the herpes type 1 for the rest of his or her life. When the virus is not active, it is dormant in a group of nerve cells. Some people never have any symptoms from the virus. Others have periodic outbreaks of infections. It is not clear what triggers the virus to return, but the factors below may play a role. Long or intense exposure to sunlight, a recent fever, emotional stress, menstruation, surgery, physical injury. Recurrent outbreaks are more common in the first year after the initial episode. After that the outbreaks then as the body builds antibodies to the virus. What are the symptoms of an HSV mouth infection? The initial, primary, infection of the oral herpes type 1 is often the worst. It may cause severe, flu-like symptoms, swollen lymph nodes, and headache. But some people have no symptoms at all. In the initial infection, sores can occur on and around the lips and all over the mouth. Recurring infections tend to be much milder, and the sores often erupt in the edges of the lips. Some people never have any more outbreaks beyond the initial infection. These are the most common symptoms of a recurring oral herpes type 1 infection. Initial redness, swelling, heat, and pain, or itching in the area where the infection will erupt. Painful, fluid-filled blisters may appear on the lips or under the nose. These blisters, and the fluid they contain, are highly contagious. The blisters leak fluids and become sores. After about 4 to 6 days, the sores start to crust over and heal. The symptoms of an oral HSV outbreak may look like other conditions or health problems. Always see your healthcare provider for a diagnosis. How is an HSV mouth infection diagnosed? Herpes type 1 is hard to diagnose. It is often confused with many other infections, such as allergic reactions. An HSV can only be confirmed with a virus culture, blood test, or biopsy. But a healthcare provider can often diagnose it based on where the blisters are and how they look. How is an HSV mouth infection treated? Treatment will depend on your symptoms, age, and general health. It will also depend on how severe the condition is. Treatment may include keeping the infected area clean and dry, antibiotic treatment for any secondary bacterial infections, topical antiviral creams, oral antiviral medicines. What can I do to prevent an HSV mouth infection? These tips can help you prevent an oral HSV infection. Don't have direct contact with someone with herpes sores. Don't share silverware, glasses, straws, or other items with someone who has oral herpes. Wash bedding and towels in boiling hot water after each use. Don't have oral sex if you or your partner have oral herpes, HSV-1. HSV-1 can be spread to the genitals, especially if you have oral blisters. To prevent a possible recurrence, use a sunblock that contains zinc oxide on your lips. Key points about an HSV mouth infection. A cold sore or fever blister is caused by the herpes type 1. The virus is highly contagious and can be spread by skin-to-skin contacts such as kissing. Herpes sores most often occur around the lips, tongue, or the mucous membrane lining the inside of the mouth. Once infected, a person will have the herpes type 1 for the rest of his or her life. Herpes sores typically last a week to 10 days. They most often occur around the lips, tongue, or the mucous membrane lining the inside of the mouth. Herpes type 1. Herpes type 1 facts. Herpes type 1 kissing. Herpes type 1V type 2. Herpes type 1 genital breakout. Herpes type 1 and 2 differences. Herpes type 1 Hindi. Living with herpes type 1. Dating someone with herpes type 1. Herpes type 1 and 2. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to my channel for my upcoming herpes treatment videos.